support the second reading of this bill, which seeks to make an act for the provision of freedom from hunger and the right to adequate food. Mr. President, I recall that during my tenure in the House of Reps in the 8th Assembly, I moved a similar bill, though that was for the amendment of the Constitution on right to food. I want to commend the sponsor of this bill for raising an issue that addresses the well-being of citizens. Food security is so critical that one of the first protests that was recorded in Bible history had to do with the issue of food. When Moses led the children of Israel out of Egypt, they came to a point where a massive protest arose as a result of hunger. Food, therefore, is so critical that it's one of the basic needs, if not the primary need, of humanity. In addressing this bill, Mr. President, I want to highlight just two issues, and that is about availability and accessibility. We talk about food security. The first and major thing is to make food available. And availability is a function of production, of food production, which is also contingent on how well our farmers are empowered to grow and produce farm crops and products. And that will require the introduction and application of applicable and appropriate technology to modernize and upgrade our farming practices, which is largely peasant agriculture, to mechanized farming. There is also the need that if we must have food security and to strengthen production, that we must empower our farmers with credit facilities at concessional rates that will bring bank interest to one-digit margin. In also addressing the issue of production, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, one issue that has constituted a threat to production of food in the country is the insecurity that we have witnessed for quite some time now, from insurgency to banditry, which has led to displacement of most farming communities, and that is a major threat to food production, which now constitutes a threat to food security in our country. The second point is that of accessibility. And next to food availability is accessibility. If food is available, the next thing is how empowered are our citizens for them to buy the food that is available. So if you tackle the issue of availability, the next is accessibility. And one of the greatest threats to accessibility is poverty. And given the level of poverty in this country, many citizens and households do not have the wherewithal to secure and have access to sustainable food and feeding. So if we must address this, we need to tackle the issue of poverty. Otherwise, food security and accessibility will largely remain a mirage. On this note, Mr. President, I want to support the reading of this bill and to commend the sponsor and to say that the twin issues of availability and accessibility are very, very necessary for us to tackle if we must guarantee food security. Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues.